you played black white at the pre-release, right?
Yeah, I played black white.
And you splashed like two blue cards that you shouldn't have been splashing.
Yeah, but I think I should have been splashing them just because normally at a pre-release, if you have any like card advantage type cards, it's good because you could like play the game you how like you kind of want to.
Yeah,
Like versus like non like really experienced players, you could like not damage race or damage race, but and they don't really like pick up on the facts that like
yeah,
your damage
that
race may
you're
not.
completely dictating like the flow of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's definitely true. Um, all right, so let's just go through it card by card.
Sure.
Archaeomancer. So, like multiple variations of this have been printed, like in the history of Magic.
Definitely.
Um, for for its limited power, it's like completely contextual, right? Like how much card advantage matters and how many things to get back are worthwhile. Because like obviously paying 4 mana for a 1/2, like you're not getting the best rate.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it in M13? Like is it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty good card. Um, the equipment in M13, I don't think are very good.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of another factor where, if there's a set where, there's the +2/+2 equipment or Bone Splinter, not Bone Splinter, the other one, Bone Splitter, was it called?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like or even like something like Special Flight. But I mean,
Yeah, something to like extend the purpose of your
yeah,
utility guys.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think this card is good. It's pretty good with like murder
Yeah, yeah. I
or
was gonna say there's some decent removal and like there's divination and mind rot, right?
yeah, which fit the curve. Yeah, like murder was the first thing that came to mind. Like like turn 3 murder, turn 4 this. You have
Right.
a guy, you killed like one of their guys, and then like you have them murder their better guy later in the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's a pretty good card. I wouldn't like first pick it, or it could definitely not be in my deck sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, the four slots like pretty glutted, but like which is what I was gonna say. But like this card is actually not necessarily a 4 drop because like you might want to hold your murder, and then
Sure,
you
yeah.
play your murder on like turn 6 and then play this thing. So like it doesn't actually, it's not like you have to curve into it. Although curving into it with like divination or mind rot's pretty insane.
Yeah, and I guess if you have a bomb, like a removal bomb, kind of like a planar chaos or something,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you would.
yeah. Like
Uh,
there's like magma quake and the fireball and the overrun. Like if you have something like that,
yeah.
then
So
obviously it's worth it.
yeah.
There's also when we did green with Travis Wu, there's a like a 4/4 for 4, I think it is 5/5. I don't know. And every upkeep you have to return a guy to your hand.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah, something like
it's
that's a
like
good card.
stampeding wildebeests, but it doesn't have to be green. I think is the way it works. Like the trade off is you bounce any colored guy, but you don't get the extra power trample. But he said that in 2HG, somebody used that thing and Archaeomancer to fog lock him.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
And sometimes in like the core sets, you could like fog locked because sometimes you don't have enough removal in your deck, and
yeah, exactly.
not really like I mean, and this core set I think is pretty good because there's discard with Ravenous Rats, Duress, and Mind Rot.
Yeah,
And there's a decent amount of removal. So I think this format is going to be way better than Avacyn Restored.
well, that's
Um,
not saying much to be fair.
well, just because it was the last set that we played.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
think because of that, I think Avacyn Restored cards are gonna like all the cards in the next couple months or a year.
yeah.
They're gonna skyrocket in price.
Just be glad that this thing wasn't an Avacyn restored. You think that Mist Raven, Peel My Mist Raven, remake it is bad?
Yeah,
Imagine getting Peel locked with this thing.
yeah. But yeah, I think this card's a fine card to put back, and just when you're drafting, kind of taking count of what instances and sorceries you
Exactly.
have.
Yeah, you have to keep track of that, and you have to not count this as a creature because like it's likely not trading with much.
Yeah, a 1/2 is not that good. I mean, sometimes like if your opponent has, like some token stuff like that 4 mana put 3/1/1 tokens into play,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's okay, but and like it's okay because even though there's no equipment in the set, there is Exalted,
Right.
so you could just attack with him and make him a little bit bigger and trade off a guy and stuff.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Yeah.
Arctic Aven. What do you think of this one in particular and the cycle it being in a core set, the multicolor cycle?
I think the cycle of these guys are pretty cool, and I think they're all like powerful, and they could be powerful enough to be played in constructed formats. The red one's like 3 mana 2/2, and then if you have a forest, it's a 3/3.
Right.
So that card's could be good enough to be played in maybe even like modern in like a red green aggro deck or like a zoo deck maybe.
Yeah.
Just like a 3 mana 3/3. Well, it's a 4 mana 3/3 haster.
No,
I mean, do you think
it's a 2 mana 3/3 haste there, or it's a
yeah,
2 mana 3/3,
yeah, 2 mana 3/3. Yeah,
or you
sorry.
can pay one and give it haste. So it's
Yeah,
like
so
you're getting a good rate on turn two, but like
yeah,
if you draw him late game, then he's way better than like Watchwolf.
yeah, exactly. He's like what's that card with like Wither?
Oh
Does he-
yeah, yeah, yeah. Bogart Ram Gang.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was just talking to Matt Scott, and Matt Scott's like, he was giving me some advice about the Grand Prix coming up this weekend. Are you going
Not
to the Grand Prix?
human, not human, Matt Scott. No, I'm gonna be in Vegas for the Star City thing
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
because I
But
want to play
yeah.
poker.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that guy's good. I think this guy's like really strong too. So I think these cards are first pickable cards in like when you're drafting. And I mean, I don't mind drafting a card that's gonna put me into two colors either.
Yeah, I think that it like besides the green white one, they're all awesome. The green white one's laughably bad, but like it's super flavorful. Like it shows you two sides of or that the two colors have like these unique abilities and that what the allied colors are, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
It's a good design too.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's the first time they've done something like that in a core set. So yet further proof that they're really trying to make core sets be like solid standalone sets.
Yeah, and I mean it's good because now like some guy who's drafting blue black wouldn't take this card from you.
Yeah,
It's the same thing with murder because some guys drafting like red green, they can't splash the murder. They could have splashed the Doomblade, but not the murder.
right, right.
Yeah.
Augur of Bolus. So this is a card that got a lot of attention. People talking about constructed, like,
Yeah.
I mean, the math on it actually is not that favorable, but the
It kind of
the
kind of reminds me of the Seagate Oracle or the Court Hussar.
right, but those are like always getting a card, right?
Exactly.
So it's like for the cost of one more mana, you're risking just whiffing. But like, even though the math to get a card isn't the best, it's still like if you're playing a 1/3 for 2 that draws you a card some of the time, then that's still like an insane rate. And then the fact that the card that you're drawing, like sometimes you can Seagate Oracle into 2 lands, but like if you hit a card off of this, it's gonna be a spell.
Yeah. I mean, I think this card is good because of that reason as well. Like, if your deck has really powerful, instants or sorceries and not very powerful creatures, then you don't really have to worry about, putting your best creature on the bottom.
Yeah.
And if you hit like land, it's like normally pretty good to put those on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like his place would not be in Delver decks necessarily, like people are speculating. I think that if he finds a home, it's going to be in like almost creatureless control decks,
Yes.
as like a Court Hussar it was in Solar Flare, where it's just like this stopgap while you build up your mana.
Yeah.
So like the only problem with that is that like Dave Judgment is rotating, and we don't have a 2 mana removal spell. So once M12 rotates out, then like that deck's basically going to be impossible to exist. So
Yeah, I mean, not to interrupt you, but I agree with you. I think this card is going to get better when Return from Ravnica comes out.
yeah,
And I think if the metagame changes to some more like weenie type decks where like a 1/3 could actually do something,
yeah,
or if there's like a new equipment or something along those lines, then I think this card's going to be really good.
yeah. Like if you play this card in a deck, it's going to be a Rune Chanter's Pike version, so that you can take use of the body.
Yeah.
It's not going to be in the like super slow controlling versions, you know, like the mid-range versions. Battle Wits, a fan favorite. Are you happy it's back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy Battle of the Wits is back.
Have you ever played with it?
I have, yes, I played with it before, and yeah, I mean, I think Battle of the Wits is a cool card, and it's just
It's a super fun card, right?
yeah, it's a fun card, and it's like weird because people love to play Battle of the Wits, but nobody cares about that other card where it's like 10 mana, you win the game.
Which one's that?
It's like an artifact, and for
Oh,
like
Dordognus. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's like super weird, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's like way easier to get 10 mana than it than it is to build your 200 plus card deck and have this and find this thing and cast it and protect it.
Yeah, I mean, people just like being unique for the most part and doing something that other
Yeah.
people aren't really doing, and Battle of the Witch is just
Well, I
cool.
mean, people love EDH, right? And Battle Witch is like now you get to play EDH in real life or in real
Yeah,
tournaments.
yeah. It's
Um,
actually
what do you
yeah, like
think?
what's up?
What do you think of the like semi controversy of the legality of randomization while playing Battle Witch decks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I think like Battle of the Witch is fine, and shuffling 200 cards is not much different than shuffling 60 cards.
Yeah, I think that it's there. I mean, surely there has to be some sort of like gentleman's agreements involved, you know, in playing it to
Yeah, I mean,
like
your
you have to
opponent could just
cut
up and
you have to
shuffle.
cut some legal corners in order to not go to time every single game one, you know. But if you're playing Battle of Wits, just like between rounds, sit and shuffle like where judges can see you, and it shouldn't be a problem, you know. Like if you genuinely wanted to bring Battle Wits to a tournament, I think you can do it.
Maybe you could bring one of those like automatic poker
Yeah,
shufflers.
yeah, that's completely legitimate too.
They sell them at like the malls for like $20 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you might
I
have to
just
get one of the like heavy duty ones, one of the like $70 ones to like shuffle your whole deck.
yeah. I mean, if you have enough money to be playing like 250 cards,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can you can
yeah,
afford a shuffler. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, are you doing the Battle Wits challenge?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Is that legal or is it not legal?
It's not legal.
It's not legal.
It is correct. It is illegal gambling
Okay,
on
then I
matches.
won't do it just because that's just like how I am. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I mean, otherwise I would.
In case you guys don't know, it's a bunch of guys who are all putting in X dollars and all playing Battle of Wits at an SEG Open. And
1 second, AJ. 1 second. Sorry. Continue.
uh,
I'll be right back. 1 second. Sorry.
okay, and whoever does the best with Battle of Wits then collects the pot. And there's a pot for day one and day two. So like they're doing it once for standard and once for legacy. And if you remember last time something like that happened, we got one of the greatest GG's live moments or SCG live moments of all time when a guy's show and tells an Emrakul into play, and Kenny Mayer puts a Battle of Wits into play, and the guy immediately dies. Um, and actually like ended up top 16ing that tournament with basically a 200 cards or 220 card zoo deck that then had Battle of Wits in it also. So he was kind of cheating a little. I don't know. Besides that one time where he show and told, I don't know how many games he actually won with Battle Wits, but that was pretty impressive. All right, ready to move on to Clone?
Yep.
Classic. Uh, it's a very blue effect, and I'm definitely glad that. I mean, there's so many clones in Standard right now. People don't even realize there's like besides Image and Metamorph, which are both not only unbelievably powerful but are like heavily played. But there's also Cackling Counterpart, which sees Fringe play, and then Clone, and there's one more, I think. There's just like infinite clones in Standard.
Yeah, I mean, I think Clone will see play in standard. Um, I don't know how much, but definitely some players will play it.
Yeah, I mean it's seen play before. It's just like I'm glad that classic 4 mana clone is back and not 2 mana clone with a negligible drawback or like a metamorph which gives any color a clone, which
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's the one thing I didn't like. I really didn't like the Phyrexian mana just because.
yeah, Phyrexian mana is horrible, but Metamorph is definitely one of the worst offenders of like absolutely destroying the color pie with Phyrexian mana, and I'm glad it's like back, like relegated back to just blue.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, clone has been around since like Unlimited, right, or Alpha, at least revised. I know. I remember I used to play clone and Vesuvan Doppelganger, and I thought I was like the coolest.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, clone's good. It's good in draft as well.
Evil Twin is the other clone. Thank you, chat.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. Clone's back.
What's
People
your
will play it. I mean,
what's your favorite
definitely
clone of
be
all
like,
time?
what's up?
What's your favorite clone of all time?
Vesuvan Doppelganger.
Doppelganger?
Yeah.
Soon Shapeshifter.
Okay, yeah, that's a good morph.
Yeah, that thing's so good.
Yeah.
All right, Courtly Provocateur.
Yeah, I think this card is good. It reminds me of Alluring Siren or Alluring.
Yeah, it's like a way better luring siren.
Yeah, and people like almost never really play that card at first. They're like, ah, this card's not that good and stuff, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
feel like we were the only two people on Earth playing that card,
yep.
or pretty close to it. It was so
Yeah.
good though,
Yeah, like it really was. So
and this
yeah,
thing's
I think this
way
card's just a
better.
better version of that. So
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. I bet like in the future league they were playing with a luring siren, and they're like, wow, this is really good. Like we should bump it up to uncommon. So they did, and then they're like, yeah, this thing's really good. Like maybe we should, make it cost 3 or make it cost blue, and they're like, no, 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 it's fine. And they print it, and then no one plays it. So
yeah.
that now they're like, we'll show you, we'll show you that this effect is playable. We'll make a really good one.
Yeah.
This card's sweet and limited, especially when there's like lots of exalted going on. If you get to pick who their champion is, like who their guy that they're sending with exalted is, then it's a lot easier to manage. And also you can, if they're attacking with like just one guy with their exalted, then you can make their exalted guys block your guys. Like
Yeah, I mean, it
if
definitely
they're
favors people who are good with like combat on combat and stuff.
yeah
Because I mean, there's some players like I remember John Sani, he was in the finals of a PTQ, and the board state was like just insane. It was like 12 guys versus like 12 guys, and the lives were like 15 to 15. So and Sani before he attacks, he sets up all of Chad Ellis's like how he should block,
right.
and then he's like, all right, attack like this, and he puts his guys on top of his guys just to make Chad like, and then like Chad removes all the guys and like rethinks it, but then like blocks the same way anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, this card just is good, and I think it's gonna see play in limited for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's unbelievable against the exalted deck, and then like still pretty good against other decks. Divination, hooray!
Yeah, I mean I really like Divination. It's just a card that
Smooths your draws out, helps
Yeah.
you keep you from flooding.
it's just a good card. It's like I mass the components but better, you know.
Yeah, because it costs one less.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. I'm just a big fan of Divination, big fan of Ponder, Preordain, all cards like that. And Merfolk Looter when that was in the core
Oh
set.
my god, Looter.
Um,
That card was probably too good at smoothing out your draw and keeping you from flooding.
yeah, I mean with Adversary Restored, I always draft Mad Prophet just because it's
Yeah, that
like
card's unreal.
yeah, it's like that's how you lose lots of times in limited when you either flood out or you get mana screwed.
Yeah.
But Divination is like good because it's 3 mana, and mana screwed and you hit your third land, you're like, all right, good, Divination. Now you're probably gonna hit your fourth land, and if you're flooded late game, you play that. Maybe you have some way to return it with like the 1/2 guy that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely happy that it's at common. Downpour. Tap up to 3 target creatures.
Yeah, this card is kind of like a blinding beam, but a lot worse.
Right.
And it's also like a falter, but better because you could stop their attack.
Right. It's
So It's kind
the,
of mean.
there are a lot of effects like this, and they're super contextual. Like, uh, what was it? Deluge?
Yeah, tap all your opponent's guys.
Yeah, like that thing was really good when it was reprinted in a core set.
Yeah.
But then like some of the other effects that have done some things have been like not playable historically. So I'm pretty interested in seeing how Downpour plays out. Like basically, it depends on how much of the format degenerates into damage races, or or creature or like stalemates where there's not a huge board.
Yeah.
Like if you stalemate with 2 or 3 creatures each, like some formats are like that, but most stalemate formats you stalemate and you both have like 8 guys, then this isn't going to be good. But yeah, I think it's really good if you're aggressive, pretty bad if you're controlling. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you'll play this card, sometimes you won't.
Yeah,
Sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be terrible. So
yeah. It's also one of the cards that's like when you're like think you're really far ahead, you're like, okay, what do I have to play around
yeah,
to not die?
and then you don't play around this and you lose because of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You're like, nah, he doesn't have that. Like that thing's unplayable or whatever, and then they kill you with
Yeah.
it. They like play it and then untap and play another and kill you.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I had a game today where it's like, all right, there's no way I could lose. He's gonna have to have like 3 removal spells or whatever, and then instead he like plays like zealous conscripts and then like 1 removal spell, but like the conscript just changes everything, and like
Right.
this is like pretty much the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sweet. Encrust. All right. So after getting Ice Cage reprinted a bunch of times and then like Spectral Prison or whatever and Addison restored, I'm happy that we have actual removal in blue.
Yeah, I mean it reminds me of claustrophobia. Was that the card?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, it's I mean it's fine.
It like it doesn't tap it right away, but they can't activate abilities, and it
Yeah.
goes on artifacts.
Yes, that's true, but it's it's like pacifism, you know. People I always felt people overvalued pacifism. They're like, yeah, stop sending creature, blah blah blah, but then they just bounce it,
Yeah.
uh, or they still have like their guy around for like a bone splinters or like a barter in blood, for example.
Right. Yeah. It's still like the pseudo removal is definitely not as good as the removal, which is why the color pie is the way it is. You know, black gets murder and blue gets narcolepsy. But like to have any effect like this in blue, I think is really important to a limited environment. Just because otherwise blue is so uh, like drawing so thin to utility guys like hangers and stuff
Yeah.
that I think it's good to have stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think R&D normally does a really good job with core sets.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they have been recently, at least.
yeah.
They've
Um,
definitely been stepping up their core set game for the past 4 or 5 of them.
yeah. Like I just don't know what happened with Avacyn Restored. I don't know why they made it. Uh, who was the lead designer? Do you know?
I want to say Zach Hill,
Okay.
but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely played a big role in standard and legacy some and maybe even modern, but just the limited format for Avacyn Restored
It was
was
so
so
bad.
bad. Yeah.
I'm very happy that cube drafts are up so that I can stream without having to play that horrible format.
I mean, I still play it just because I'm a glutton for punishment.
Right, because you hate money and having fun.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, understandable.
I like getting more and more gray hair just because.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right, Essence Scatter.
I think Essence Scatter is super good.
Yes,
It's good to definitely see play in standard.
yes.
And I think it's a super good card to draft.
It's
Um,
like okay, so Wizards is pushing more and more towards creature-based magic, right? Like the creatures are way better and the spells are way worse, except for Bonfire.
and except for Planeswalkers, but yeah.
Yeah, but planeswalker, like the best way to interact with planeswalkers is with creatures.
Okay.
So I think that that's an extension of that push. But so Essence Scatter is actually like way better than it has been in the past, or Remove Soul. And it's been good before, but I think that now that the creatures are so much better and the spells are so much worse, like you need to counter Huntmaster, or you need to counter like Wolf Silverheart or a Titan or something. And like being able to do that for 2 mana is so awesome.
Yeah, it definitely gives more of like a extended or modern type feel when you're playing standard,
Yeah,
rather than you just sit there and you can't really interact with their best guy and stuff.
right.
And even for limited, lots of times like their first pick is like some 5/5 flying dragon, and you're just like, oh, that card's so good,
Yep.
has like an effect when it comes into play or whatnot, but this thing just stops
Yeah,
it. So
stop it cold for 2 mana with a common that you probably didn't get until like eighth pick.
yeah, exactly. Like even like Captain of the Night Watch or whatever it's called, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
even if you were to Doomblade that guy, they still got 3 tokens, but here you just stop them.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's going to be interesting how it happens when Mana Leak goes, but we still have Cavern and
Yeah,
Essence Scatter to see like the balance, like because once Leak goes, people are going to be cutting back on Caverns because Cavern's not actually that good unless you're like a tribal deck
yeah. I was
or
just talking about that on the ride home.
or a
I was
deck that like
saying
needs to
like
resolve a
I
Titan.
have like I think almost like 10 caverns from like drafts and stuff,
Yeah,
and I think that card's got like tank in value
it will.
unless like something happens with Return to Ravnica
No,
where they can't like if they bring back something like Void Slime or something, you know?
yeah, like I agree. I think it's gonna go way down because A, Mana Leak is rotating, so there's less need for Cavern, and B, uh, the Titans are rotating, which the Titans are like one of the big offenders of being able to be, protected by Cavern and take over games.
Exactly.
So I think that Cavern's gonna go way down in value and playability, which then makes Essence Scatter a really cool choice. And it's gonna obviously it operates in swings, right? Like nobody, like everyone stops playing Caverns, and then Essence Scatter's amazing. And then people start to play Caverns again because Scatter's good, so Scatter goes down, and then like ebb and flow. So I'm really interested in seeing like where it settles,
Yep.
especially with when we get Return.
Somebody said the lead designer for Avacyn Restored was Brian Tisman, the same
Brian
guy who made Rise
Tinsman?
of the Eldrazi.
I think that's wrong. I mean, I assume the person looked it up.
Yeah, I think
So
Rise of Eldrazi was like a really bad format too.
really, Rise was pretty beloved.
I don't know. It's like I really liked Innistrad.
Yeah, Innistrad was one of the best sets ever for
Yeah.
limited constructed design, flavor. Innistrad was an unbelievably well made set.
Yeah.
Rise though, like a lot of people liked Rise quite a bit, including myself. I
Yeah, like
think
I didn't really like the level ups and stuff. That was like tilting me all the time, and
I liked that. Why? That's a good ability.
I don't know. That format tilted. I mean, I get tilted easily, but
Dude, level up is like it's flavorful and it it like rewards good resource management. It prevents you from flooding and can give you stuff to do with your mana if you have like an Eldrazi in hand and nothing to do, or if you're like stuck on lands and your hand is full of 4 drops, you still get to spend that 3 mana.
yeah,
Like it
yeah,
was just a really, really good ability from a design perspective and from a gameplay perspective. Yeah, obviously Invisible Stalker from Innistrad was like the only mistake in Innistrad. But I don't know. Rise was pretty good. If Brian Tinsman did do Avacyn Restored, I would be quite surprised. Um, I mean, I believe it's possible, but it doesn't feel like a Brian Tinsman mistake set to me, you know.
yeah, yeah.
All right, Fairy Invaders. This card's sweet.
Yeah, it's like super good in draft.
Can you
Uh,
like
what's up?
remember how without Flash this card used to be a slam dunk first pick,
Yeah,
and now it has Flash and it's like probably a first pick, but not a slam dunk like it used to be.
yeah. It's like, I mean, if you like blue and there's nothing really that good in the pack, then you could first pick.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I don't think it's amazing, but it's definitely a solid card, and you're like 99.9% of the time always gonna play it. I can almost never see a way that you're not gonna have in your deck, you know?
Yeah, it's really good and it's really skill testing. Just like a neck snap effect to like not get a guy ambushed by it, you know?
Yeah, I
To
mean,
like
it's
set up a
super good
game
when you do have
state where
next
you
step because
can.
then they're just like,
Yeah,
are, well, like what do they have? Like, because next step works attacking or blocking.
right.
So, sometimes they don't block, sometimes
Yeah,
they
it's a
don't
lot easier to
attack.
represent.
Yeah, and then if you have cards like Rewind in your deck too,
Yeah,
it's like should your opponent play something before combat or attack first or not even attack. So it definitely adds to punish players who are less experienced.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. Um, Now Fog Bank, I want to take some time to talk about because I do not like that this card is in this set, and I talked at length with Patrick Sullivan about it. He was actually the one who brought it up. It's specifically unbelievably good against Exalted, which is one of the major themes of the set.
Yeah.
I think that that is really like, I don't want to say poor design, but it's like a strange choice to have one uncommon just completely shut down one of your keywords that is also like a major theme in the set.
Yeah, but I think it's good to stop these people from just abusing Exalted.
Yeah, that's true too, but if you're if you're gonna do that, do it with like a Gomazoa or something. What card? The like 1/3 that had basically the same ability.
Yeah, with two colors and a blue, 1/3 flying.
Yeah, like I would
Yeah.
much rather see that than this. This is specifically like a middle finger to Exalted, whereas that other card like kind of it did things like its body could actually fight. But this thing, it's like pretty bad if they're swarming you, and unbelievable if they're
Yeah,
exalteding.
yeah, because I mean, it does nothing as like an O2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I don't get why this is in this set. Like it's a fine card and it's really really good and limited. I just don't know why they chose to put this in this set specifically.
yeah,
Oh well. Harbor Serpent.
that card is in like every single core set. I feel.
Yeah, it's been around for a while.
Yeah, and I think it's good for the casual player. I was actually talking to my friend about this, where back in the day, people would play like standard or extended. But I guess it's more so standard because sometimes you still see it in like I guess you don't even really see it in modern and stuff. But it's okay. So now the only really cards you have that are color specific hate is like Celestial Purge. So very few people play Flash Freeze.
Yeah,
But back in the day, your sideboard would be like four Honorable Passage,
yeah,
four like Circle Protection Black.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
Chill, compost,
yeah, Choke.
choke.
Um,
Yeah, that you had some sick hosers back in the day. Boil,
yeah,
anarchy,
yeah. It's like Gloom.
gloom. Yeah,
It's like big LOLs. But
yeah,
nowadays, I like that anymore for sideboarding and stuff. But I think for like a first time, you know, player who is just like learning Magic and stuff, maybe this is like the kind of like the introduction to like, oh wow, like Island Walk it screws people who have islands and stuff.
right,
But
right.
I get screwed if they don't have islands, so I'm gonna play this color, and because lots of times when you're a casual player, you have like a really like terrible inbred meta game, but it's fun.
Right.
Like back in the day, my opponent would play like a flying, like when my from high school would play a flying deck, so I would play like four Thunderbolts, you know,
Right.
only to beat him in like casual games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like good for the casual player, and I think it's also good for the competitive player in like PTQs or like seal decks because sometimes you switch out your entire like an entire color
Yeah.
to kind of metagame trick them. And I think a lot of people don't
That's even
do
more
that.
important in core set limited than any other limited environment.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like my opponent has like two looters in his deck, so I'm gonna go from blue white to like black red just to beat his looters. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Harbor Serpent's definitely good at exactly that. And like, uh, I mean, it's like a fine card by itself too, right? It's not like Sea Serpent or whatever, the ones that are just like completely dead if they don't have islands. Like, it's still like super late game. Like, it can still be a pretty big body. It's just like if they're playing islands, then it can attack right away and can't be blocked.
Yep. Exactly.
So I like that. I like this version of the blue on blue, uh, hate rather than the other. But I definitely think that like the days of gloom and perish are behind us. I don't think that that's I think that this is this is what color hosing looks like now.
Yeah. So.
Even the good ones that we got, like Purge and Flash Freeze, are not being reprinted.
Yeah. Yo, AJ, just a heads up. I have to like take off in like 15.
Okay, we'll power through then.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Hydro Surge, whatever. It's like
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna play it most of the time. To be honest, I think it's definitely a really like cool trick, especially if you have like a blue white flying deck where you're like damage racing and stuff.
yeah, it's really good at that, especially if they're exalted. So like all their power is on one guy. If
Yep.
they're attacking you with a bunch of grizzly bears, it's obviously not good. But if they're like sending one guy and you just fog it for a turn, or like they attack with a worm and you like quadruple block it and then -5,
Yeah.
it's really good. And it's
Yeah.
also
Definitely.
good that it's enough that it trumps Titanic growth, so that you can like they attack with their 4/4 and you block with like a 3/3 and a 2/2. Then they Titanic growth. Then you can Hydro Surge and kind of just like equalize the combat.
Yeah.
I really like the number 5 on that.
Yeah. And it's
Index.
super cheap. You know.
Yeah. And uh, these effects are usually the ones that are like underplayed, but actually have a lot of applications.
I think the last one in the core set was one blue -3 -0, if I remember correctly.
It might have been.
It was like Dizzy Spell. It was called.
No, Dizzy Spell was the one that transmuted.
Well, what was it? -3 -0.
Yeah, that was
All
from
right.
like Ravnica. There
Yeah.
have been a bunch
Okay.
of these. There's like the enchantment one, and there's like fleeting distraction, which is only -1, but it cantrips. Yeah, there's the sensory deprivation. That's an aura
Yeah. The
for
or. Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Yeah. Index. So this card is not good, and a lot of people who aren't super competitive or super experienced might think that this is the new card for Delver.
Yeah.
I've been seeing on forums like once Ponder's gone, like people are going to be indexing, and that's just like not the case.
I mean, it's fine if you could make some, miracle deck.
Exactly, that's the only real application that it's going to have. I don't think that. Like again, the good part of Ponder is that it draws a card, not the not the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, definitely casual player like it. For limited, I would almost never play this card.
Correct, for exactly the reasons. You're just investing a card and getting nothing back.
Yeah, the only way I would play this card if I had multiple of that like sack land or like any shuffle effect, the
Yeah,
evolving wilds,
yeah,
or like, and I need to have like a bomb in my deck.
yeah,
That I definitely want to get to, like that
yeah.
5/5
A
flying
lot
red
of
guy or something.
a lot of very specific things have to be happening for you to want to play this card.
Exactly.
Jace, 5 mana Jace is back.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jace is a very dumb card for limited.
Yes,
But I mean, they want it in the format for standard, I guess.
yes.
People like Jace as a planeswalker
Well,
in
it's a
general.
lot.
So
It's a lot. It's the only Jace that isn't like borderline oppressive or outright oppressive. So
yeah,
that's
I mean, even Jace Berlin is just was like so good.
yeah, it was insane.
Yeah. So but in limited, Jace Berlin was whatever kind of. Obviously not is not game winning as like Jace Memory Adept. So
Yeah, this thing is real stupid and limited.
yeah, like pretty much always first pick it. Like very very. I don't even know what you would ever take over it.
Yeah, it would be. I'd be hard pressed to find a card.
Yeah.
But the new Earthquake does kill Planeswalkers, so there is that.
But I mean, this super. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not going to play this. I'm just saying, there is another answer to it, which is nice.
Yeah.
Jace's Phantasm.
Yeah, I mean, people are trying to build.
Mirror